Hello and welcome to Curious Conversations. We are your hosts, Carly and Mandy, and today we're talking about mushrooms.
Yeah, so we know where this story is going. This is a little bit of a spoiler, but I think people have the idea. So I'm going to ask before we get on, do you have any mushroom stories or any poisoning stories?
I don't have any poisoning stories. I don't have any mushroom stories, really. I mean, I just, you grow up and you're told, do not touch mushrooms in the yard. And so I just thought, they're all poisonous. They're all going to kill you. And then, as an adult, I learned, wait, you can like forage for these things and you can actually eat some of them, but there's still a little bit of a scare there. So I don't know. What about you? Do you got any stories?
So I have a mushroom story, but I don't think I'll share that one. we'll leave that one as that. And
Okay.
I'll tell a poison one instead. So this is not mushrooms, but I have a distant relative who did not poison other people, but she poisoned herself with rat poisoning. And here's the scoop. So everybody goes, 4th of July, everybody goes to town, like the family, to go have ice cream. And she says, no, I'm going to stay home. And she sprinkles rat poisoning on top of her own ice cream. And that's that. Yeah. So this is not somebody I knew. This was before me. So
that was on an accident or intentional?
No, this was like, you're sprinkling the candy. Because I will say, old bottles, because I collect old bottles, they'll have like something on it that you can feel, so that you can see and know what that is. And I used to have a rat poison bottle because I bought it because of the story, and it has the shape of the rat on the side, so you know what's up. So yeah, but not the whole family. I mean, they came home to this a tragedy, but not mushrooms. But that's my poison story. That's what I have.
Wow.
Yeah, it's creepy. I remember hearing that when I was younger and thought, that's creepy.
Do you still have the bottle?
No, I actually sold the bottle, and now I kind of wish I had. Here's the thing: I got really excited about it, and then I started thinking, well, what if there's residue? Do you ever get all the residue off? Am I going to poison myself? Is this going to be the second story of the family?
They'll be talking about you for generations.
Yeah, and it's not the kind of talk that I want. So,
Right.
Anyway, I do know you like mushrooms. Like you like mushroom, like photography. You like the look of mushrooms, the whole aesthetic. I do know that about
you. They're so darn cute. So I love to eat mushrooms. I'll eat a mushroom on anything. Pizza. I mean, any recipe that you could fit a mushroom into, I want it in there. But mushrooms are very cute, and just seeing them out on there, just growing in nature. I have to take a picture.
Yep,
that's what my Instagram looks like.
So let's talk about when they're not cute. So today we're sharing a strange story, and it's still underway. It's the case of Erin Patterson, who's being charged with murder over a simple family dinner. Can you imagine?
Yeah. So this is July 29th, 2023. Okay. And Erin invites 5 people over. This is supposed to be just an intimate family dinner. And she decides to serve a dish called beef Wellington. Have you ever eaten beef Wellington?
I haven't, but I've heard of that. And that's like, it sounds like a fancy thing, right? It's I don't know what it is. I'm going to sound dumb. It's not like a stroganoff, is it? What is this? Is this like the shaped up?
I had to look it up.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but I think it's like the, pinky out kind of meal back in the day, right?
Yeah. So when I look at it, it looks like a fancy looking, what are those things that, not a calzone, but the other one that a pizza is like wrapped in like this tube shape, That's what it looked like to me, but it was stuffed with beef and cheese, maybe.
That's
It
not what I picked
definitely,
off.
it looked fancy,
Yeah.
but I've never had it. Never
Okay.
had it.
Me neither.
Um, well, so the 5 people that were invited, only 4 of them show up. One person couldn't attend, couldn't make it.
Mhm.
But within days of that dinner, 3 of those 4 guests all dead.
That's terrifying.
Mhm.
That's terrifying. Lucky for the one person, right?
Yeah, well, very lucky for the one that didn't show up.
Sure.
Of the 4 that came, 3 are dead, but one was in intensive care. wasn't really sure if he was going to make it. He was waiting for a liver transplant.
Mm.
Like, it was bad. It was really bad.
Oh my gosh. So I know this sounds serious, but doesn't that sound like Murder on the Orient Express kind of thing, or maybe The Game Clue? Like it sounds like a little hokey, and then all were dead kind of thing. That's what it sounds like to me. But I know it's serious. Um, I, okay, so all 4 had similar horrible symptoms, and even Erin herself was hospitalized, right? And she had the same symptoms. Did she dose herself?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, everyone got sick. She went to the hospital with stomach pains, nausea, just the same symptoms that everyone else was really experiencing. She went right home. The one person stayed in the hospital, and the other 3 never left the hospital. So it was just really, I mean, you're thinking, okay, it's got to be environmental, or there was something in that meal that took out everyone who ate it,
Yeah,
everyone who was served.
mushrooms are tricky, right? It's like, you know, the good, the bad, the ugly. Well, so after the tests were run, it was discovered that this was all happening because of the death cap mushroom. I mean, I've heard of this, but I don't know a lot about it, except it sounds terrifying. Like you can't, I don't know, can you touch it? Can you, and you're okay, or you just can't ingest that?
I don't know a lot about death cap mushrooms, and I don't know where you would get them from. It's not something I ever want to run across, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if, is it just if you ingest it, or could you get that on your skin? Because there's all kinds of poisoning from mushrooms that are, well, you don't want to touch these, you don't want to ingest these. Yeah, I have no idea. Honestly, this story was the first time I'd actually heard death cap mushroom.
Yeah, that it sounds terrifying. And I know that some things like they grow naturally can be have really vicious results. Like, if you don't die, you wished you were dead, right?
Right. Yeah. No, you hear, I mean, all poisoning, I think, would just be horrific, just that you're nonstop vomiting, the pains that you feel in your stomach. I just think that would be a horrible way to go. But yeah, I'm not really familiar with a lot of the mushrooms and the different types. I do know I like mushroom coffee. I don't know if you've ever tried that. It's different, but it's pretty great. And I consume lion's mane pretty regularly, but I do know I would never rummage around the yard just plucking up mushrooms and putting them in my food, because that is not a way you want to go.
No, but I could kind of see you doing that. So I didn't know until you said that. I didn't know what you might be doing.
I do eat a lot of stuff out of the yard. I I will definitely go and make a salad out of my front yard, but stay away from mushrooms. I'm too scared, too
Yeah, you're very,
uneducated.
very resourceful, and you've got a large family. Can you just not feed them, like killer foods? Now, okay, so I love mushrooms. Like I like a portobello on the grill. Oh my gosh,
Ooh,
love that kind of thing. I could eat just like a pile. Like I have bought the little containers of mushrooms, put those in the skillet with butter, and I will eat that whole thing. But yeah, we don't want to just get mushrooms in the wild and put those into our dishes. But So the mushrooms that Erin purchased they were from grocery stores or they were not? That was like, can you get some like black market something or where is this?
Okay, yes. So Erin says, wait, I didn't pick those out of the yard. She had purchased two types of mushrooms from two different locations. So she purchased button mushrooms, which are just those little normal, everybody eats them mushrooms from a local grocery store. And then she got like an assortment of dried mushrooms that she bought from an Asian market. I'm assuming that is where she's going. These right here are the problem.
So what do you think the thought process was there? They were mixed in somehow, or there was somebody who was, there's people out there who just want to be mean and sneaky. Was it something like that? Was it, I don't know. I have no idea why these would be at any kind of grocery market kind of place.
Yeah, I try to stay away from assorted anything because you have one bad thing in there and your whole bunch is, bad. Um, I'm not really sure that I would buy mushrooms from a market that's just kind of set up. Um, I don't know, like how much is that stuff tested? That might scare me a little bit.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
I like farmers markets.
Oh, I do too. And you're trusting, right? You're trusting that it's not deadly. I don't think I'd buy mushrooms at a farmer's market though.
Mm-mm.
Squash, a watermelon, that kind of thing.
Mushrooms, no.
Yeah. But we can make ourselves like very paranoid about our purchases if we didn't watch it. Because you think about what somebody could be doing.
Oh yeah, it's when you start to overthink, what's in the back kitchen of your favorite restaurant, and then you all of a sudden don't want to eat there anymore. Sometimes you just need to not think about things. And I think too, we just assume that everything is regulated, everything is safe because it should be, right? We live
Right.
in America. Everything's been tested and checked and it's all good. And that isn't always the case.
Yeah, just as an aside, I have to say this. So this brings to mind there was a local Walmart. This was a personal connection here. This is not something way out somewhere that I read online. A local Walmart, several years ago, they had people were putting needles into the clothes, into the women's section of clothing. So people were going to put on clothing and get stabbed with needles. And they're like hypodermic needles. Yeah. So somebody out there thought that was funny. I don't even know how you have that direct. If you're looking for some kind of response, you're not really seeing that firsthand. I don't know what that is. But so you take that and you think, well, that could go on in the produce section, right? Everything's just out there. There was a story online, maybe bogus, of somebody who had like sprayed down with like insecticide. Did you hear about that? The
No.
fruit and veggie section. Yeah, like right here. But yeah, so you think about what somebody could do discreetly for whatever reason. My mind doesn't think that way. And it's like, it's pretty scary. I'm going home and like scrubbing the heck out of the apples now.
Yeah, do you remember as a kid when you'd go trick or treating and your mom would check for like razor blades and candy and stuff? Did your mom do that, or was that just fine?
No. That was a whole scare, like especially in the 80s and the 90s, and I don't know, maybe before that. But then I'm thinking razor blades, and then there was that thing of like, oh yeah, they send them through X-ray, and I'm like, no hospitals open up X-ray for you to bring your bag of candy. I think that turned into a bit of a or what do you call it? The what's the word I'm looking for? Like tales that are
Conspiracy, legend,
urban
urban.
legends. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We never went to X-ray the candy. I don't think I had that much candy, but yeah, there was the scare.
Yep, I remember all of that. I remember it.
All right. So you have a woman who has 3 dead relatives. Another one who's suffering in the hospital for weeks and weeks, waiting for that liver transplant. She was hospitalized. It sounds like a tragic story, but she's facing jail time now, right? What happened?
Yeah, you feel so sad. Like, well, she lost family members. She herself was sick. She's probably carrying around a lot of guilt. And now she's going to spend time in jail. Um, you just think, gosh, that is a tragedy. That's terrible until you really start looking into the details. And then it takes a really dark turn.
Well, it made our show. So we know there's a dark turn somewhere. There's some sort of twist coming, right?
Yes, always. Okay. So first of all, Patterson has a couple of children that live in the home with her. They happen to not be there that night. They both decided instead of attending family dinner, they would go to the movies that evening. That was a little odd, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But not, I mean, you never know. You never know.
You never know.
Second detail though, and much more telling, was the guest list. All of the members of her guest list were her ex's family, her ex-in-laws.
See, Murder on the Orient Express. So she has cherry picked. It seems, in theory, she has cherry picked. I've got it out for this one. Yeah, let's get Joe Bob over. He's like been a problem. I don't know what she's just like marking off her list is what it seems like, right? It starts to make sense when you hear that.
Yeah, it's definitely telling. You know, there's some red flags there. If I'm going to invite like my ex's family all over, I'm going to at least want some of my people. Like, let's even the playing field or something. Uh, so, definitely a red flag for sure. Now, the invited guest that did not end up in attendance was Patterson's ex-husband. His name was Simon. He didn't come. His mom and dad did. That's Gail and Don Patterson. Both are now passed. They're dead. And then his aunt and uncle, Heather and Ian Wilkinson. Heather did die, but Ian is the one that barely survived. The ex's uncle is the one that really barely made it, was in the hospital for a very long time, but is still living.
Is this weird to you? This is like, I don't know. Isn't this set up a little bit obvious? I mean, like you said, wouldn't you like pepper in some people who invites like their whole ex's family, but not the ex? Like most people have the problem with the ex, not the ex, the family's ex, right? And he wasn't there.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if he just had something that came up. Maybe he didn't really want to be around Erin, or maybe he was just smart enough to go, you know, something's up. But I mean, if he had any suspicion, surely he would have said to his mom and dad, hey, don't do it. Don't go. You know, I want to know what were the dynamics there. That they all were like, yeah, let's go have dinner with this chick. Let's just eat what she's cooking. I don't know.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I'm so devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Don. Don is still in hospital. The loss of Ian and Heather and Gail. They were some of the best people that I've ever met. Gail was like...
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me. And I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Okay, so some people have a good relationship with their ex. Let's just play with this idea. It's an idea, guys. Don't flip out on me. So let's just play with this idea. Like, what if they're okay? And he's like, hey, could you do me a solid?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look at you.
Oh, yeah. Just making crap up. I can do that.
Well, during the investigation, police discover that Erin, she discarded a dehydrator just after that dinner. Come on, sis. Come on. She claims that she did so in a panic. Like once everybody started dying off. The circumstances were stacked against her. So she chose to throw away the dehydrator just to be safe.
Yeah. I don't know. That looks a little bit suspicious, right? So she's getting rid of this because what, it would just keep emitting fumes of something? Like, what is the thought process?
Yeah. I mean, surely she's thinking, well, if she didn't do it, she's thinking they're going to think that I did. They're going to think that I dehydrated those mushrooms. And so she's chunking it. I would have kept it and been like, here, can you test this for me? Let's just go ahead and let's get it done. Let's test it. But nope, she chunked it. And I don't know how the police found that out. That was smart thinking. There was some conversation in the hospital between her and her kids about the dehydrator, and the ex-husband overheard it. I do know that. And he said something about, well, is that what you used to kill my parents? So I don't know. It's all a little strange. Why would you talk about it? If you used it, just zip
Right.
it.
So again, this is like Clue. So it's Erin in the kitchen with a dehydrator. It's like, that's my right.
That's my guess.
So I guess with my theory, like if he set her up to do this, then there it is. He's like, yeah, she did something. Like, is this what she used?
Where's that dehydrator?
Yeah, I know that was it. I know what she's capable of. It's crazy.
So you've got all of these, I mean, they're just terrible red flags stacked against her. And then the fact that no one else died because of the mushrooms that she allegedly purchased from the grocery store. If she had you're not going to have just one that was bad and it killed a bunch of, just your little people, and no one else has gotten sick or reported it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we hear about food recalls all the time. That always scares me because it's like, shoot, I missed that. Did I have that last week? When did this happen? Did I mess something up? I don't know. Did I purchase something that now is recalled and I was in the bad window of that? I don't know.
Yeah, I worry so much about food recalls. That really gets to me every time I hear it. I'm like, wait, check the refrigerator. And it's always the stuff I like every time. There's never a recall on apples. I hate those. It's always my list.
Yeah, it's yeah, you have to watch that. And you don't always hear it too. It's like we hear a lot of those, but you think, oh God, did I miss one? Or there was an onion thing for a while. There was an onion scare. There was contaminated onions, and that's a little bit. Yeah.
Yep. Well, all right. So let's wrap this up. There are some facts that we know. We know that Erin is set to stand trial in April of this year. So we're going to be keeping our eyes on that. But here's what we know. So we have a survivor, and that's interesting. I would love to hear his take. Maybe he could shed some light on that evening. Like, did Erin eat out of the same dish? How much did she eat? I'd like to know those answers.
Right. Okay, here's a scary thought. You ever been eating something and think, this doesn't taste right? And then you take a little bit more and you're like, is it me? My taster's off? I don't know. Somebody made this. I'm going to push through. Like, maybe you don't. Was he taking something? Like, maybe you don't push through for politeness.
And maybe that's why he's still here. Maybe he was like, oh, something tastes a little off on that. I don't know if her beef was right.
I think I'm full.
Yeah. And was there any chatter among the guests when they left about, well, that wasn't so great. She's not a good cook, I don't know.
Yeah, he's like, I had a big lunch and I'm just going to pass. Y'all eat my part. I don't know, but thankful.
The second thing, the police have the dehydrator. So I don't know if they could still test for mushroom spores. Was the dehydrator closed when they dug it out of a landfill? It was already in the landfill. I'd love to know, did they get anything off of that? I don't know. I don't know what they found there, but that's interesting.
Okay, this is I guess I'm mushroom dumb. But so I eat my mushrooms just like either sauteed, grilled, raw. What is this bit with the dehydrator? What am I missing? Why would you want to dehydrate a mushroom? It's dry as can be. Tell me, tell somebody that's smarter than me. Are people dehydrating mushrooms before they put on the salad? I don't know.
I wouldn't.
You would?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't dehydrate anything though. I don't like dehydrated fruit. I'm just not into that. But I mean, I'm yeah, it would just be like anything else. You could dehydrate it, throw it in a jar and put it on the shelf and it lasts longer, maybe. I don't know. I think that would be, it's going to take your flavor. It's going to change the consistency. I wouldn't want it.
I just wondered if that was like I don't know, something in the area, cultural thing, some kind of thing that a particular dish called for.
Maybe that's a beef Wellington thing.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, some areas they switch up recipes and it's a little more this than that. Like, do you ever have that? Like, I recently had Brazilian stroganoff. It's nothing like what I make. It was delicious, but it was a tomato base.
What?
It was good. It was like you took tomato bisque and mixed it with something. It was so good. So you know, maybe it called for that specifically, but she's got a dehydrator. She must like that whole dehydrated thing. I don't. I don't want to make it drier. That's my goal, to make the food drier. But I could see it for fruit, right? You do that for like a snack. Meat. But I don't think I'm familiar with that with mushrooms. I don't know.
I've never purchased dehydrated mushrooms.
No, that's weird.
You know, something else. Yeah. Something else that police have are Erin's hospital records from her trip. And she obviously didn't die. She didn't need a liver transplant, but she ate that same meal, and it was an in and out kind of thing. I do know they did give her some type of medication for her liver to help her liver recover. So I would be curious to see, was anyone else given that same medication? Like maybe she was just given the miracle drug, or was she really not as bad as everyone else?
So this is weird to me because, excuse me. So did she, it seems like with a liver thing that you'd be more at risk, like you would have a harder time with it. So did she have like some little gulp, gulp, gulp? And it's like the save all, or was she like pulling her mushrooms out of another? I want to know how this was set up. Like, how was the scene? Are you serving yourself? Did she serve it? Did she fix those plates in the kitchen and bring them to the table? And she's like, yeah, I got I don't know, whatever kind of mushroom that's safe. And everybody else got the other, but they look the same.
I think that's where the uncle's testimony is going to be imperative, because he will be able to say, yeah, she brought out one thing and it was cut and served, or plates were already fixed. You know, I don't know. That's interesting.
Was there a way? Yeah. Was there, like, I'm just going off with all these theories. Was there a way to prove that she wasn't faking sickness?
That's another thing is, you know, did they do blood test? You know, how do you tell if someone has been, you know, poisoned with something? Is there a test you can run? Is it like in the blood or something? Because she could have gone in and said, I have got the most god awful stomach pains and I feel very nauseous. And she's just fine. She's just saying that so that it's not super suspicious.
Yeah, it depends on how deceptive she's being, how sneaky and crafty she is, because like I'm already in my head, well, what would I do? So if I was a maniac that was going to kill a whole family, I'd be popping those charcoal tablets, is what I'm saying. Just got to run to the bathroom. I've been throwing up. We better go.
Okay, so I love that you're already thinking through, well, if I was a maniac, what would I do? Because I got some. I think I would have chosen someone else who eats very little and given them an okay, so they just got a little sick. Like, don't get everybody super sick and you're the only one that's not. You got to have somebody else in the room. You know, invite somebody you don't really hate, and make it to where a couple of people are okay and a few people are not. Like, let's mix it up.
Right? Yeah. And so there's a lot of things that would play into this. What what was the relationship like? You would think if she's invited these people and they've shown up, that it's not a bad relationship. I don't know.
did read somewhere that, yeah, I did read somewhere that I think the either the family was in favor of Erin and her ex-husband getting back together, or Erin was maybe looking into that and was trying to convince the family. I think it was all about, hey, reconciliation and let's put some things to rest and be a happy family. And it just didn't turn out that way for them. So,
Well, she put it to rest, is what I'm saying.
she sure did. She sure did.
As far as reconciliation, I think she failed. I think she
Yeah, that's over with. You messed that up. And then this was shocking. Erin's ex-husband is set to testify. Obviously, he was invited. He didn't show up. Thank goodness, but he lost his family members that day. Part of her trial also includes additional attempted murder charges in regards to an event that took place it's 2021 and 2022, involving her ex-husband, where he was hospitalized on 3 separate occasions with a mysterious gut illness that he now believes was her trying to poison him.
I think the girl's got a hobby.
I think she's going away for a long time.
Find a new hobby. Yeah, that's like somebody who's I don't know, trying out to get to the finale, or they keep failing, so let's try one more time. Yeah, that doesn't sound very good in her favor.
No, I don't think she's going to be able to talk her way out of this. I think she's done for.
Well, I'm really glad I don't go to like a lot of dinner parties and such.
makes you rethink that church potluck.
Yeah, I always kind of cringe. Like I'm excited to see all the different food events like that, but I'm like, did grandma have the flu and she's wiping that nose as she's stirring the collards? I don't know. It's somebody else's house.
Those kitty cats that stand on the counter and just try your food before you do,
You're playing in the casserole.
Uh-huh. Oh my gosh. Well, this was fun. This was, I hate to say things, stories like this are fun, but talking about them, that's a lot of fun.
Fun to like dig through and imagine. And I mean, everybody likes that. Yeah, this was a serious story, but yeah, it's an interesting story, and it is fun to kind of try to figure out all the pieces and put that together. And it certainly sounds like in the end, maybe it's just as simple as that. She just wanted them going, and she gave her best shot.
She did.
All right. Well, okay, we're gonna wrap this up, and we want you to tune in next week. We're gonna have something pretty interesting. I'll say very interesting, and don't want to leak that too much, but I'll say you don't want to miss it. Can I say that?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we're digging into something that we've just spent a lot of time on, and you're not going to want to miss it. Anyone who is interested in helping solve cold cases, you're going to want to stay tuned. You're going to want to listen. So you come back next week. Hey, if you love our podcast, be sure to subscribe. We want you to share it with a friend. And then if you have something curious you'd like to share, or maybe you have an idea for an upcoming episode, we want to hear from you. You can email us at ourcuriouspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.